season, Russell Westbrook departed from the Nuggets and hit the free agency market, where he was met with nothing. After months of it seemingly being the end for him, he finally got a contract with the basketball equivalent of Hades, and despite this less than ideal ending
Ain't no way you just call the Kings Haiti.
for a legend of the game, I also think that a good amount of the blame goes on Russ himself. He's still talented and was an elite player at his peak, but his flaws have caused his worst lows to be equal to his best highs, and it's resulted in a complicated legacy. This is the duality of Russell Westbrook. Russ would establish himself as one of the premier superstar guards in the NBA and its best second option during his first 8 years. He was selected 4th overall in the 2008 draft, but would eventually solidify himself as the best player to come from his class. The number 3 guy got ejected from the NBA for a drug violation, the number 2 guy never had an NBA mentality despite immense talent, and the number 1 guy, well, you know what happened to him. Westbrook's playstyle is built around his ridiculous motor and intensity. He plays the game of basketball like it's him, the ball, and the rim, and he doesn't care if there's a brick wall in the way, he's going to score that ball. But that intensity wouldn't be as effective as it is if Russ wasn't an athletic freak. At his peak, he was highly explosive and would attack the basket.
Yo, wait, we gotta go back.
As it is if Russ wasn't an athletic freak. At his peak, he was highly explosive and would attack the basket with violent intentions, often catching defenders in the crossfire. If he has the ball in a fast break, he's going to go coast to coast, and there isn't a thing you can do to stop him, because not only is he the fastest guy on the court,
That's why I love watching Russell Westbrook, bro. The dunks be insane.
but he also has great strength for a point guard. And not only was he a very good rim finisher, but he was also a highly talented passer, one of the best rebounding guards ever, and a very underrated and underappreciated on-ball defender. But at the same time, that ridiculous motor and intensity quite often hurt Russ and his team. Driving into a lane full of 5 defenders is cool and all when you throw down a sick dunk or finish a layup, but when the 5 defenders do what they do the majority of the time and, get a stop, then all of a sudden that isn't smart basketball. Russ has also never been a consistently good shooter. Now don't get me wrong, he could get hot at times and he has entire seasons where he's a respectable and even good mid-range shooter, but that has never been a reliable truth throughout his entire career, and he has flat out never been a good 3-point shooter. And similar to how he just sometimes takes dumb shots because he's moving too fast, he is prone to make risky or just bad passes. But the thing that is most frustrating about his weaknesses is that they have just always been the same. He's always had efficiency concerns. He's always had turnover concerns. He's always had fundamental basketball IQ concerns. And take this however you will, but you can always see that same intensity come into play off the court for him, which has resulted in some people viewing him as difficult to work with, while others view him as someone that always brings comical interviews.
Execution. That was a good job of executing. Did a good job execution. It's good. We did a good job executing.
Now, are you upset with something?
I just don't like you.
You not like Nick either?
No, the interviews, the post-game interviews this guy has, bro, legendary, peak cinema.
I love Nick, but I don't like you. You got another question? Good execution. We did a good job executing tonight. It was a good job. We did a great job executing.
Russ's first 8 years in the league were his best chance at a title, in large part because he played alongside this guy. Kevin Durant's skill set meshed perfectly with Westbrook, as he was a 7-footer with a great handle that could score from anywhere in any way while being more than comfortable playing off ball. They formed one of the most talented offensive duos we have ever seen and dominated opposing teams' defenses. Their supporting cast consisted a lot of defensive-minded guys who had mediocre to poor floor spacing capabilities, but Russ and KD were so good that usually didn't matter. Let's get this out of the way. The biggest reason that Russ and KD never won a championship isn't anything to do with them personally, but with the absurd competition they faced. In 2009, they won just 23 games in Russ's rookie year before jumping to 50 in the following season, one of the biggest single-season jumps we've ever seen. And what was their reward for winning a very respectable amount of games? Oh, something great. The defending champion first-seeded Lakers. To put into numbers how ridiculous their competition was, KD and Russ played 16 different playoff series together. The 2016 Mavs won 42 games. The 2012 Mavs were on pace to win 45, and the 2011 Grizzlies won 46 games. Every other team they faced won at least 50. The 10 teams they beat averaged 51.5 wins this season, while the 6 teams they lost to averaged 60.3 wins. And those win totals don't even properly reflect who they were facing. The grit and grind Grizzlies, the Lob City Clippers, Dirk when he became that guy, the Kobe and Powell Lakers, the Heatles, and 2 separate dynasties. And yet it highlights just how great these Thunder teams were that, outside of their first year in the playoffs, they never lost in the first round. But another major issue with this Thunder team that often goes under discussed is that they lost valuable time to injury. In 2013, they won 60 games, the most of this era, coming off of a finals appearance the year before. They looked poised for a return to the league's brightest stage. Hey Russ, name's Patrick Beverly. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I just gotta say, you've got some lovely looking knees there. Thanks? That's a weird thing to say to somebody. Yeah, maybe it is. Anyway, I'm gonna dive into your legs now. Wait, what? Russ had never missed a game prior to the...
I remember that clip when Patrick Beverly did that, bro. It hurt, bro. Even though I'm not Russell Westbrook, but just looking at it, that thing hurt.
This incident, and although he finished the game because grit is his middle name, he sustained a torn meniscus that took him out for the rest of the playoffs and probably affected his career trajectory, as the following season he missed another 36 games due to lingering knee issues, which likely impacted the Thunder's regular season result. And then in 2015, they missed the playoffs entirely as KD battled injury all season long, in spite of Russ playing the best basketball of his career to that point and leading the league in scoring. Again, this just shows how ridiculous this conference was. 45 wins and you can't even get an 8th seed. Now that we've gotten past what are the two biggest reasons for why this Thunder team failed, let's talk about the next biggest reasons, which are the players. Now, I've already made videos in the past about both Harden and Durant and talked about their various failures. KD in particular failed OKC several times due to a lack of leadership and ability to assert himself. So just keep that in mind, that I know Russ wasn't the only guy at fault and that he simply is the focal point here. But before I get negative, I do want to still highlight that during this time period, Russ had good playoff series and averaged 24.5 points per game, 6.2 rebounds per game, and 7.6 assists per game in his first 82 playoff games. This is excellent production out of your point guard and second option. The point here isn't to paint Russ as a bad player, but highlight just how polarizing his play style is. In 2011, they beat the Nuggets in a 5-game series where Russ shot 39.6% from the field. In that same run, they eventually lost to the eventual champion Mavericks, where Russ shot 36% from the field on top of having 4.8 turnovers a night. The following year was their finals run, where Russ had a great first 2 rounds before struggling immensely in the conference finals against the Spurs, giving his team just 18 points per game on 37.8% from the field. Russ often gets criticized in the finals for taking 120 shots to Durant's 106, but I don't see the validity in that critique when it's only a 14-shot gap in a series where they combined for 55% of their total team shot attempts. Would you rather they have given those shots to Kendrick Perkins? The only real critique I see of Russ in the series, because overall he played well despite having some poor individual games, was shooting just 3 of 22 from 3. Like Russ, you aren't good from that distance, and that isn't changing right now. Why do you keep shooting those shots? In 2014, the Thunder found themselves in a dogfight 7-game series where Russ struggled from the field once again, shooting just 38% from the field and averaged 4.9 turnovers a night. And then the dreaded 2016 playoffs. In round 2, Russ once again struggled against the Spurs, shooting just 37.6% from the field, and then in the conference finals, after taking a commanding 3-1 lead over the 73-9 Golden State Warriors, the Thunder fell apart. Russ shot 28 of 76 or 36.8% from the field in their collapse while giving up 5 turnovers a night. Gee, Kevin, we really did ruin our best chance at getting back to the finals. Yeah, we sure did. But you aren't gonna, leave us, right? Go to the franchise we, as a team, choked against, right? Cause that would be pretty cupcake behavior, right? Yeah. The 2017 season encapsulates the Russell Westbrook experience perfectly. In 2015, we had a taste of Russ as the number 1 option, but now we were getting the whole load of relentless aggression. He won the scoring title with 31.6 points per game, averaged a triple-double, broke the triple-double single-season record, and also had these advanced stats with PER, box plus minus, and value over replacement all being historically great. Yeah, but he had a lot of turnovers, was inefficient, and James Harden. Just like Westbrook himself, his MVP season might be the most polarizing we've seen in recent years. On one end, we have people who see the gaudy stat lines and say, that's insane, he must be the best point guard ever. On the other end, we have people who see the mediocre true shooting percentage and a lot of turnovers and dismiss the season, claiming Russ robbed the award from Harden. Both fall for the same trap of looking at stats without context. No, Russ did not have the best season ever just because his numbers were off the charts. The narrative of his best teammate ever betraying him, and Russ still being able to drag his team to the playoffs while doing something historic, played a massive role in this award. But at the same time, this supporting cast was hot garbage if you were trying to win a title. His second leading scorer was Victor Oladipo with just 16 a night. He had 2 other guys in double digits. This floor spacing in the starting lineup around Russ is absolutely disgusting. In fact, the Thunder were the worst 3-point shooting team in the
Whoa, 0%? Yo. Oh my goodness.
League that year. That season, Russ's assist percentage was 57.3%. That means he accounted for 57% of his team's assists while he was on the floor, a nearly unheard of mark. His usage percentage was also historically high, a mark that is meant to measure what percentage of the time an offensive possession ends with the player shooting it, getting to the line, or turning the ball over. And the playoffs that year amplify the problem. This is a ridiculous stat line that gets a little worse when you see Russ's efficiency. But again, there was nothing consistent he had on the offensive end. Oladipo, Russ's second offensive option during the entire regular season? Yeah, that's not great. Andre Roberson was a defensive monster and actually shot well from three in this series. But a slight problem. He went 3 for 21 from the free throw line. I think you see my point. The reason it's hard to give Russ the benefit of the doubt in past seasons was because it was consistently the same problem and he had Kevin Durant by his side. And for similar reasons, those same critiques emerged once again after this standout 2017 season. Russ averaged a triple-double 3 more times in his career after 2017.
That's actually insane that he averaged a triple-double 3 more times. No one else is going to be able to do what Russell Westbrook did, bro. He is going down as a legend, the triple-double man himself, Mr. Triple-double himself, Russell Westbrook.
Which is just crazy. He won 3 assist titles, became the triple-double king, scored the most points, and grabbed the most rebounds in a career for a point guard, got to top 3 in point guard blocks, top 5 in point guard assists, and top 10 in point guard steals. Yet he would have virtually no playoff success, playing in just 9 playoff series in the next 9 years. He had 2 more series where he shot below 40% from the field in OKC before Dame hit a bad shot, and then he got shipped off to Houston where his efficiency wasn't horrendous, from inside the arc that is, but his overall stats took a hit as his role declined as he played second fiddle to James Harden. He then played in Washington where he shot below 33%, then got shipped off to the Lakers where everything went wrong, and I'll actually come back to that in a moment, and then he played with the Clippers where he really began to embrace being a role player and had an awesome series against the Suns in 2023 before having the worst series of his career the following season, good series, and then once again below 40% from the field. In the 53 games Russ has played since the departure of KD, his numbers would end up being just 19.3 points per game, 7.4 rebounds per game, and 6.2 assists per game while being dramatically less efficient. Still, in saying this, I want to highlight that he performed better in the regular season during this time frame. Also, if you aren't convinced about how driven his mindset is, last season Russ sustained 2 broken bones in his shooting hand and played through the pain to try to help his team win. Numbers have a lot of context behind them, and that
shows a lot of dedication and just his mindset that he really wants to win.
That's why I think his inefficiencies in 2017 need to be forgiven because, again, he was dealing with this on the offensive end. But when it becomes such a trend for a player to struggle to efficiently contribute to his team, you don't need that added context. That guy just struggles at that aspect of basketball. Russ has played in 25 playoff series in his entire career. He shot below 40% in 12 of them. He also shot below 30% from 3 in 12 of them as well. A lot of them on some pretty high volume. This series against Memphis, for example, saw him attempt 42 threes and only make 10 of them. Brother, why are you still taking that shot? And also a side note here, the NBA made a rule that prevented players from going beyond the 3-point line during their free throws, which was in his routine. Ever since then, his shooting from the line, which used to be rock solid, has tanked heavily. 48% of his playoff games see him shoot below 40% from the field. Russ has had at least 4 turnovers in at least 52% of his playoff games for 71 total. Every other guy that has more shoots significantly better than him. It's not even just the stats. The worst lowlights you'll ever see from a star constantly called his name throughout his entire career. Like how about the time that he was clearly defending Lou Dort and inexplicably left him wide open by the basket with no one else around to double shea and gave Dort the easiest bucket of his life near the end of the game where the Lakers were already down 2. How about the time he received the inbound pass and started walking up the court, calling plays, and forgot about this key part of the game called dribbling? Or how about this sequence that captures Russ's lows perfectly in less than 30 seconds? Russ gets the ball, and with less than 13 seconds on the clock and his team already up 1, all he has to do is hold on to it and don't turn it over. But he said, screw that, I ain't no free throw merchant. Bricked the layup, and on the other end of the court, he fouls Conley at the buzzer to send him to the line for 3 free throws, which he makes to ice the game. Oh, and did I mention that this is what Jokic put up that night? But as I said at the start of the video, the most frustrating thing is that Russ has always struggled with efficiency and consistent ball security and was long stubborn to adapt, and to see that look no further than his Lakers tenure. The Lakers shipped out Kyle Kuzma, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Montrezl Harrell in exchange for acquiring Russ, and it is arguably the worst trade in Lakers history. I don't think think Russ deserves the entirety of the blame because by this point, he was who he was, and that was a ball-dominant slasher with shooting weaknesses, and if you look at this team, you'll notice someone else who fit that mold. He was a major fit concern, and they gutted some of the depth that helped them win their title in the first place. What you can blame Russ for is a lack of accountability with himself. This was the first time in his career where he was a third option and he couldn't act like it. The inefficient shot making and defensive lapses were one thing, but he acted like the problem was anything but him. Frank Vogel was the Lakers' scapegoat after the 2022 season, and despite Russ starting every single game and maintaining his position in the lineup, Russ said, quote, "I'm not sure what his issue was with me." Really. For some reason, I find that hard to believe. And I think that type of mentality has defined Russ his entire career. Sure, he's improved a lot since leaving the Lakers and accepting a smaller role, but at times, the old Russ still comes out. Honestly, I could see one person rank Westbrook 35th all time and another rank him 55th all time, and I think there is a very strong argument for both of them. His resume is amazing. When he's playing good, you love him for all the ways he contributes, and he's also fun to watch. And his peak was truly dominant. Say what you want about stat padding, you don't average a triple-double 4 times just because your bigs lighten up on the boards. On the other end, he's played with a lot of talent throughout his career and has a disappointing playoff career to say the least. He's not a choker, a dropper, a fraud, whatever you might call it. His weaknesses that have already been exposed in the regular season just become a little bit more obvious when the postseason hits. And both of those perspectives on Russ have his mentality at the center of it. The confidence that he can do whatever he needs to do to make his team win. An intensity and motor that says, I'm going to drive my head through that brick wall, and once I'm done, I'm going to do it again. That's the duality of Russell Westbrook. A player with absurd levels of talent where on his best day, you think nobody can match him, but on his worst, you don't even want him on the court. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like.
Ooh, this is a really good video. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what other videos I should watch. And I'll see y'all in the next one.